Boston fans, the countdown has begun. The offseason has felt like it dragged on forever, but now we're only a couple of weeks away from seeing players fully report back to camp, and not much longer until the season tips off. The Celtics have already had guys filtering into the gym, shaking off the rust, and putting in early work. That's a promising sign, because this year's campaign is shaping up to be one of the most fascinating in recent memory. Boston is gearing up for an entire season without the security blanket of their main superstar, Jason Tatum, and the big question hanging over everything is how this group can navigate the grind of 82 games while trying to stay in the championship hunt. Before diving deep into Boston's own situation, you can't ignore the shockwaves coming from the other side of the country. The drama swirling around Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers has turned into one of the strangest NBA stories in years. What started as whispers about a suspicious business deal has grown into a full-blown scandal. Investigations uncovered that Kawhi was tied to a company called Aspiration, signing what looked like a 4-year deal worth nearly $30 million to basically do nothing. No commercials, no tweets, no billboards, not even the bare minimum appearances you'd expect from a standard endorsement. Meanwhile, the money kept flowing in, and the numbers were massive. More than what he earns annually from a shoe deal with New Balance. The connection back to the Clippers makes it even more explosive. Steve Ballmer, the league's richest owner, had pumped an incredible amount of money into this same company. Soon after, Kawhi was magically collecting his millions without lifting a finger. To make things more suspicious, when the company started running out of cash and couldn't make Kawhi's next scheduled payment, a minority owner of the Clippers, who just so happened to be a longtime associate of Ballmer, swooped in with a personal investment. Days later, the payment landed right in Kawhi's pocket. If you're writing a movie script about circumventing the salary cap, this is the smoking gun scene that leaves no doubt. The implications for Los Angeles are staggering. The Clippers already mortgaged their future years ago by shipping out their draft capital in the Paul George deal. Oklahoma City owns their picks until the next decade. If the league finds evidence that the Clippers manipulated the system to pay Kawhi off the books, penalties could be historic. We've seen the league hand down punishments before. Remember the Joe Smith situation with Minnesota in the late 90s? That cost them multiple first-round picks and nearly blew up the franchise. Something on that level, or even worse, could be on the horizon if this case sticks. And unlike past minor infractions, this involves the NBA's most visible owner, a man who is not just known for his deep pockets, but also for being at the forefront of league committees, including ethics and auditing. The optics could not be uglier. Now, why does this matter for Boston fans? Because if the hammer drops on Los Angeles, the ripple effect could be enormous. Suddenly, Kawhi's contract status is up in the air. If the league voids deals or strips the Clippers of flexibility, Leonard could find himself in free agency much earlier than expected. And when a superstar like that becomes available, the entire balance of power in the NBA can shift overnight. Teams across the league, Boston included, would need to reevaluate their rosters and cap space strategies to prepare for new possibilities. While that storm brews in the background, the Celtics are quietly grinding. One of the most interesting developments has been the arrival of Anthony Simons to team workouts. For weeks, Boston kept things low-key regarding Simon's status, almost like they weren't ready to commit long-term. But now they've gone public, posting photos and clips of him back in the gym wearing green. That's a sign of confidence, and it should get fans intrigued. Simons is an electric scorer, a guy who can create his own shot from deep and heat up in a hurry. Last season, he averaged 19 points per game, hitting around 36% from three on nearly 9 attempts per night. That volume is elite. He's the type of guard who stretches defenses just by stepping across half court, and you can already imagine Coach Joe Mazzulla giving him the green light to let it fly. Of course, Simons comes with his own questions. He's on an expiring contract worth $27 million, which makes him both valuable and expendable at the same time. Teams looking for a mid-season scoring punch will definitely have him on their radar, especially since acquiring him wouldn't require a long-term commitment. For Boston, the calculus is tricky. Do you hold on to Simons and unleash his firepower next to Jaylen Brown? Or do you shop at the deadline to bring back pieces that better balance the roster? That decision could define the middle part of the Celtics season. Beyond the individual player storylines, Mazzulla himself has been making headlines in subtle ways. Known for his stoic demeanor and quirky press conference moments, the young coach has been quietly doing the groundwork that often separates good teams from great ones, building relationships. He's been spotted attending events with players, from joining Derek White's family gatherings to showing support for Nemias Quetta. He even traveled out to connect with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum during the summer. It might not make the highlight reels, but that kind of consistent presence goes a long way toward establishing trust and chemistry. When a season gets tough, when rotations get squeezed and minutes become scarce, those bonds matter. Players fight harder for a coach who has invested in them off the court. Meanwhile, Boston's developmental pipeline is taking shape up in Maine. The roster for the G League affiliate has been set, with names like Ron Harper Jr., Jalen Bridges, and Amari Williams leading the way. Harper Jr. brings some pedigree, while Williams, a recent second-round pick, might be the most intriguing. With Boston's front-court depth not exactly ironclad, Williams could realistically see time bouncing between Maine and the NBA squad. If he proves capable of defending at a high level and cleaning the glass, don't be surprised if he gets an opportunity when injuries hit or rest days pile up. That's the beauty of this season for Boston. There are so many threads to follow. How do they handle life without Tatum anchoring the offense every night? Can Simons find a rhythm in Green, but does he become trade bait? Does Joe Mazzulla take the next step as a tactician while maintaining his reputation as a player's coach? And will one of the young guys make a surprise leap to help shoulder the load? All of those questions are simmering, and training camp is about to crank the heat up even higher. Boston conversations lately have circled back again and again to Jaylen Brown. Even in the glow of a championship banner, fans know that Brown's future in Green is always going to be debated. He's locked into a long-term deal, yes, but that has never stopped speculation in this league. Every time he gives a thoughtful answer in an interview about his ambitions or his ties to his hometown of Atlanta, the whispers begin. Could he someday want to be the number one option elsewhere? Would he eventually chase a role where every possession runs through him? It's the kind of chatter that never seems to die, and in a market as passionate as Boston, it only grows louder when the offseason drags on. The idea of pairing Brown with a guard like Trae Young is the latest hypothetical making the rounds. On paper, that's fireworks. Two dynamic scorers, both capable of taking over games, both still in their prime. But once you move past the highlight reel possibilities, the flaws jump out. Trae is a maestro with the ball, but defensively he's a sieve. Pairing him with Peyton Pritchard, another undersized guard, would create huge headaches on that end of the floor. Boston has built its identity on team defense, on switching, on physical wings who can guard multiple positions. Adding Trae into that mix would be like putting a hole in the bottom of the boat. Sure, the offense would sizzle, but the defense could spring leaks that no scheme can fully patch. That doesn't mean fans are completely opposed to the idea of adding a superstar. Boston knows that banners come from talent stacked on talent. But the concern is whether chasing a player like Trae would undercut the very balance that has made the Celtics successful. Pritchard is expected to take a leap this season, especially with Tatum sidelined. Removing his runway for growth in order to shoehorn in Trae would feel like a contradiction. The Celtics spent years developing a culture where young guys believe they'll get opportunities. Abandoning that just for star power would be a dangerous gamble. Some fans believe the long-term answer at point guard isn't even on the roster yet, but waiting in a future draft. Boston's front office has shown they're willing to play the long game. With Brad Stevens steering the ship, patience has been the mantra, and scouting has been sharp. The idea of finding a young guard to grow alongside Brown, someone who can play both ends of the floor, fits neatly into that philosophy. It's less flashy than swinging for a name like Trae, but maybe more sustainable for building another decade of contention. What complicates all of this is the financial reality. Jaylen Brown is already on a massive contract, and by league standards he deserves it. He's a perennial All-NBA threat, a top 15 or 20 player. In today's salary landscape, those guys all make near-max money. From Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to De'Aaron Fox, from Evan Mobley soon to Scotty Barnes, the going rate is the same. So for Boston, the question isn't whether Brown is overpaid. It's who would you rather give that money to if not him? The free agent market is barren, and history has shown that Boston isn't exactly a magnet for marquee signings. Stars don't flock to the Northeast winters unless the foundation is already irresistible. That means letting Brown walk for nothing or shedding his contract just to free up space is a losing move. You'd be saving money with no one to spend it on. That's why some fans get nervous when others casually say, "I'm fine with him leaving as long as the contract is off the books." The cold truth is that you can't simply pocket that space and expect another top-tier talent to stroll in. If Brown were to leave, Boston would almost certainly have to rely on trades or internal growth to fill the void. And that void isn't small. Brown's scoring, his slashing, his perimeter defense, even his presence in the locker room, it all matters. Tatum has always thrived alongside him, and removing that dynamic changes the entire blueprint. The silver lining is that Brown doesn't give off the vibes of a player eager to bolt. His relationship with Tatum is strong, and while the media loves to pit them against each other as a who's the real number one storyline, the numbers show they coexist just fine. Brown has averaged over 25 points per game alongside Tatum without either player's stats suffering. There's no evidence that one is holding the other back. In fact, their games complement each other. Tatum stretches the floor and creates spacing. Brown attacks gaps with his athleticism, and both defend multiple spots. The idea that they can't thrive together feels more like a narrative than a reality. Still, the NBA is unpredictable. One great year from Brown, a hint of wanting to be a franchise centerpiece elsewhere, and the league's rumor mill will spin out of control. Boston's job is to insulate itself from that chaos by continuing to build a roster that maximizes both stars. And this season, with Tatum sidelined, the spotlight on Brown will be brighter than ever. How he carries that weight will speak volumes about his future and the direction of the franchise. Meanwhile, Coach Joe Mazzulla faces his own test. Winning a title last season gave him credibility, but critics argue he inherited a nearly finished product. Now comes the chance to prove he can navigate adversity. No Tatum safety net, a roster with moving parts, and expectations sky high. That's where a coach earns his stripes. Mazzulla's willingness to immerse himself in players' lives, to show up at events, to build that foundation of trust, is already paying dividends. But when the games tip off, the chessboard decisions will matter even more. Can he find lineups that maximize Simons without sacrificing defense? Can he stagger Brown's minutes to keep the offense flowing? Can he coax contributions from role players while still giving young guys room to develop? These are the questions that will define his second full year at the helm. The season also represents a rare opportunity for the Celtics' G League contingent. Amari Williams stands out as a potential mid-season call-up, especially given Boston's thin depth up front. Ron Harper Jr. and Aaron Scott add intrigue as well. If one of those players can make the jump, it changes the calculus of roster management. Second-round picks and undrafted guys rarely move the needle, but every so often one becomes a hidden gem. Boston has a history of turning overlooked players into contributors, and this season might require exactly that. All of this sets the stage for an unpredictable few months. Boston fans are bracing for a roller coaster, equal parts excitement and anxiety. The Kawhi saga out west could drop another bomb on the league at any moment. Simon's role could evolve or evaporate depending on trade wins. Brown's every word will be dissected for hidden meaning. And in the middle of it all, Mazzulla will be tasked with steering the ship through choppy waters. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. In an announcement that has sent shockwaves through the sports world, the Celtic organization stunned fans and analysts alike by revealing that NBA superstar Kevin Durant is allegedly joining their ranks. Sources close to the team, who spoke on the condition of anonymity, claim that discussions have been ongoing for weeks, culminating in what could be the most audacious crossover move in sports history. While traditionally associated with basketball glory, Durant's rumor transition to the Celtics has fueled speculation about a bold new strategy that could redefine the boundaries between sports franchises and global branding. The basketball community is in utter disbelief. Durant, a two-time NBA champion and one of the most prolific scorers of his generation, has never been linked publicly to Celtic or European football. Yet whispers of his potential signing began circulating after a series of cryptic social media posts, hinting at a major career shift. Analysts are scrambling to interpret the implications. Would Durant simply be joining as an ambassador, or could the Celtics truly be preparing to integrate an athlete of his caliber into a new competitive context? The ambiguity has only intensified the buzz. Fans across the globe have taken to forums and social media, mixing excitement with skepticism. Some see this as a daring marketing maneuver, a way to merge two massive fan bases under a single banner. Others speculate it's the beginning of a trend in which high-profile athletes explore uncharted territories beyond their primary sport. The rumor alone has sparked memes, debates, and viral discussions, proving the immense cultural weight Durant carries even outside the basketball court. Celtic has yet to confirm the deal officially, and representatives from Durant's camp remain tight-lipped. The sports world, however, has never been more eager for confirmation or denial. If true, this move could not only elevate Celtics' international profile, but also signal a new era of cross-sport experimentation, where the lines between basketball, football, and global entertainment blur in ways previously unimaginable. For now, fans can only speculate, but one thing is certain. The rumor of Kevin Durant donning Celtic green has already rewritten the headlines and captured the imaginations of millions. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.